Shaun King sees irony at the heart of Shedeur Sanders' situation while many might see Sanders being benched behind Dillon Gabriel as a career setback, King argues it could be a blessing in disguise. He believes the Browns are so deep in dysfunction, led by flawed evaluation, ego-driven decisions, and a refusal to admit mistakes, that Sanders' delay in starting might spare him from being scapegoated in a system doomed to fail.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
In the long run, avoiding early exposure to Cleveland's chaos might give Sanders a better shot at success elsewhere, or at least under better. King frames this potential delay as a strategic advantage, not a missed opportunity. With Gabriel faltering and the locker room losing faith, pressure will mount on Stefanski and the front office. When the inevitable shift comes, Sanders could step in at a time when expectations are lower and the need for change is undeniable. In King's view, that timing could make all the difference, not just for Sanders but for a franchise trying to claw its way back from self-inflicted collapse. The Cleveland Browns are being accused of something far worse than just making a bad draft pick. According to former NFL quarterback Shaun King, they're actively sabotaging the development of Shedeur Sanders. And the worst part? All of it could have been avoided if someone in that front office had just admitted they were wrong. King didn't hold back. His critique is direct, and every word is rooted in frustration over a team that refuses to accept reality. The Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft. A pick that King and many others believe was a total reach. Gabriel might have had the stats in college, but he came into the league with very real physical limitations. Limited arm strength, below-average accuracy, and size that raised concerns. These are not small red flags. These are the kind of issues that get exposed quickly at the NFL level. And they did. Gabriel has struggled. The offense under him hasn't clicked. There's been no rhythm, no spark, no consistency. And despite all that, the Browns have refused to re-evaluate. They won't alternate starts. They won't give Shedeur Sanders a fair shot. They're not interested in competition. They're interested in being right. King says that decision alone has wrecked team morale. Because when you take a look at what's happening behind closed doors, it's not just one player getting snubbed. It's an entire locker room watching a bad decision play out in real time while nothing is done to fix it. That kind of stubbornness kills trust. It sends a message that politics come before performance. That egos come before wins. That protecting a draft pick matters more than building a winning team. Sanders is the better quarterback. King says it flat out. He's better than Gabriel in high school, college, and he's more equipped for the NFL. He reads defenses better. He processes faster. His skill set is stronger. The gap in talent is obvious. And yet, it hasn't mattered. Because this isn't about who gives the Browns the best chance to win. It's about who the Browns are trying to make look like a success. They're trying to justify a pick that should have never been made that early. They're trying to protect their process. And to do that, they've shoved Sanders to the side and thrown Gabriel into the spotlight, regardless of whether or not he can handle it. Spoiler, he can't. And now the Browns are stuck. Gabriel keeps underperforming. The team keeps losing. And yet the response has been the same every week. Stay the course. But what course? The one where you hope the fans forget there's another quarterback on the roster? The one where you pretend your rookie QB1 isn't getting outplayed in practice by the guy you're not even letting compete? That's why King's words sting. Because he's exposing the pattern. This isn't just a bad call. It's a refusal to evolve. The Browns have fallen into a culture of fear. A fear of admitting failure. A fear of looking weak. And in the NFL, that fear is a slow death sentence. King points to the long-term impact this could have, not just on Sanders but on the franchise. By refusing to rotate starts or at least evaluate both quarterbacks, the Browns are creating a culture that's inherently unfair. And when things start feeling unfair in the locker room, you start losing the buy-in. Players become disengaged. They start looking ahead to free agency instead of buying into the system. Development slows down. Growth stops. And any sense of momentum disappears. But here's where it gets complicated. King actually believes this might work out in Sanders' favor. Because by being kept away from the chaos, Sanders is also being shielded from the failure. Gabriel's struggles are mounting. The losses are adding up. The heat is all on him. And while that's happening, Shedeur is quietly sitting, waiting, and staying untouched by the disaster. So when the Browns finally cave, and they will, Sanders will be stepping into a situation where the pressure is gone. The bar is low. The offense is already broken, and all he'll have to do is bring a little life back into it to be seen as a hero. If he plays well, even marginally better than Gabriel, he'll instantly be viewed as the answer. That narrative writes, but that doesn't mean this was a smart plan. It wasn't a plan at all. It's just dysfunction spiraling into opportunity. The more this drags on, the more it feels like a complete collapse is coming. And King is warning that if the Browns don't act soon, they might not just lose games, they might lose Sanders altogether. Because no matter how patient or poised a player is, there's only so much disrespect you can absorb before you start looking elsewhere. Other teams are watching this unfold. They see what Sanders could be. They see how badly Cleveland is handling him. And if he ever hits the trade market or free agency, there will be interest. Serious interest. Because in this league, you don't let quarterbacks with that kind of upside sit on the bench forever. Not unless your organization is more concerned with optics than outcomes. And right now, that's exactly what Cleveland looks like. King's criticism wasn't just about Shedeur being benched. It was about the culture that allowed it to happen. A culture where draft status matters more than talent. Where failure is covered up instead of corrected. Where mistakes are protected instead of acknowledged. And it doesn't end with Gabriel. It reflects on the entire evaluation process. The way this front office assesses talent. The way they handle accountability. The way they handle leadership. And it's broken. King compared the Browns' situation to what other teams around the league are dealing with. Teams like Arizona and San Francisco, where quarterback evaluations have also created instability. But the difference? Those teams are trying. They're rotating. They're adjusting. They're not pretending things are fine while everything burns around them. Cleveland is pretending. And it's costing them. Sanders should have already had a chance. At the very least, alternating starts would have created a fair evaluation window. A simple move that would have allowed the team to make decisions based on what they see, not what they believe. But they won't do it. Because they're afraid of what it might confirm. That Gabriel was a bad pick. That Sanders is the better option. That the entire plan needs to change. And changing the plan would require leadership to own up to its flaws. To face the media. To face the players. To face reality. Shaun King isn't asking for miracles. He's asking for fairness. For humility. For the Browns to stop hiding behind their mistakes and actually do what's best for the team. Because at this point, the damage is already done. The only question is how deep it'll go. Will the Browns wake up in time to save their season? Will they give Sanders the opportunity he's earned before it's too late? Or will they keep circling the drain, hoping no one notices the better quarterback is sitting right there, waiting for a shot? Drop your thoughts below. Should the Browns admit the mistake and start Shedeur Sanders now? Is this salvageable? Or are we watching yet another chapter in Cleveland's long history of quarterback mismanagement? Like this if you're tired of ego getting in the way of good football. Share it with someone who's been yelling at the screen every week asking where Sanders is. And don't forget to subscribe because with the Browns, this drama is far from over. The clock is ticking and the Cleveland Browns are running out of excuses. Week after week, the same mistakes, the same mismanagement, and now with Dillon Gabriel visibly overwhelmed and the team spiraling, the question isn't just, when will they start Shedeur Sanders? It's, why hasn't it already happened? Shaun King didn't say anything shocking. He said what everyone else is thinking. What players are whispering. What fans are tweeting. What analysts are watching unfold in real time. The Browns are sabotaging their own future by refusing to let go of a bad decision. They are protecting Dillon Gabriel not because he's earned it, but because acknowledging the mistake would be a blow to the egos upstairs. Let's call it what it is. This is self-inflicted failure. King's argument is built on one damning truth. The Browns didn't just make a questionable call in the draft. They made it personal. They turned Gabriel into a symbol of their front office's intelligence. They didn't just pick him. They married the decision. And now, anything that challenges it, even clear evidence that Sanders is the better option, is treated as a threat. That's why Shedeur hasn't played. Not because he isn't ready. Not because he's behind in development. Not because he's underperforming. But because starting him would force this franchise to admit that they wasted a valuable draft pick on a quarterback who simply isn't built for the NFL. And if that sounds harsh, it's because it is. But it's also true. Gabriel was never the guy. His limitations were obvious before he took a single pro snap. Undersized, arm strength concerns, inconsistent under pressure. Everything that scouts flagged in college has followed him straight into the pros. And yet, he keeps getting opportunities while the more talented quarterback sits. That's not strategy. That's politics. And in the NFL, politics like that don't win games. So what are the Browns doing? They're running Gabriel out there week after week, hoping he magically transforms into something he's never been, while Sanders waits, watching, learning, being held back. Not for performance reasons. Not because the coaching staff is carefully grooming him, but because leadership doesn't want to admit the guy they backed was the wrong one. It's dysfunction in broad daylight. And this isn't just about one bad pick. It's about a team that's clearly built on the kind of culture that prioritizes optics over outcomes. That kind of mindset doesn't just cost games, it costs trust. It damages the locker room. It breaks down chemistry. It turns veterans into skeptics and rising stars into flight risks. Shaun King's warning is clear. If this continues, it won't just be a missed opportunity, it'll be a turning point. The kind of turning point that franchises don't recover from easily. Because once you lose the locker room, it's a long road back. And the Browns are already seeing the cracks. Players are checked out. The energy is off. You don't need insiders to see it. Body language says everything. Disengaged sideline. Lack of urgency. No sideline. That doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when a team knows its leaders aren't being honest. And that's what hurts the most in all this. There is a solution. Right there. Sitting on the bench. Wearing a headset. Watching the guy ahead of him flounder week after week while knowing full well he could do better. Sanders doesn't need to be a miracle worker. He just needs a chance. But he's not being given one. Because the people in charge are too committed to a lie. And at some point you have to ask, what are they really afraid of? Is it that Gabriel won't succeed? Or is it that Sanders will? Because if Shedeur goes out there and performs, if he gives the team a lift, if the offense finally finds rhythm, if the Browns actually start winning, that's not just a change at quarterback. That's a referendum on the people who didn't want him in the first place. That's what this is really about. Pride. Fear. Reputation. King sees it. The fans see it. The players definitely see it. And it's creating a situation where the Browns are risking more than just games. They're risking their future. Because when you mishandle talent like this, when you send a message that politics matter more than performance, you don't just lose players. You lose credibility. You lose buy-in. And when that goes, it takes years to get back. Right now, Cleveland has a choice. They can keep pretending that Gabriel just needs more time. That the locker room isn't frustrated. That Sanders still isn't ready. Or they can face reality, admit the obvious, and make the move they should have made weeks ago. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not in garbage time. Not after the season's lost. Start him now. Give him the keys. Let the team rally around something new. Something honest. Something that reflects where the real talent is. It's not a hard decision from a football standpoint. It's only hard if your priority is saving face instead of saving the season. And if they don't do it, then everything King said becomes prophecy. Sanders won't stay quiet forever. Other teams are watching. And if the Browns keep forcing him to sit while the lesser quarterback struggles, he'll eventually walk, either in spirit or in reality. And when that happens, Cleveland loses more than a quarterback. They lose the kind of player you build around. They lose a chance to get it right for once. And they cement their reputation as a franchise that never learns from its own mistakes. The truth is, this story didn't need to be this dramatic. But the Browns made it that way. They made it personal. They made it political. They made it stubborn. And now they're the ones who have to answer for it. At this point, the Browns aren't just losing games, they're losing the benefit of the doubt. Every week Shedeur Sanders sits is another week of wasted time, another week of defensive press conferences, another week of fans side-eyeing every decision coming out of that front office. And for what? To keep up the illusion that Dillon Gabriel was ever the right pick? Shaun King's takedown wasn't exaggerated. It wasn't clickbait. It was a reality check for an organization that's still trying to sell everyone a version of the story that just doesn't match what's on the field. Gabriel was a third-round gamble who never should have been thrust into a starting role this early, and certainly not with no competition, no rotation, no accountability. But here we are. And instead of evaluating their quarterbacks honestly, the Browns are sticking to a script they wrote in April and refused to revise. And it's not just bad football, it's bad leadership. Because what this says to everyone else in the locker room is loud and clear. Performance doesn't matter. Politics do. Draft position does. Saving face matters more than making the right call. And when players see that, they disengage. They start looking at the calendar, not the game plan. We've seen this story before. It never ends well. This isn't about giving up on a rookie too soon. It's about refusing to even consider the better option, despite every piece of evidence pointing in that direction. Gabriel hasn't earned the rope he's been given. And Sanders hasn't earned this silence. You think the team doesn't notice? Players know who's balling out in practice. They know who's commanding the huddle. They know who can move the chains and who can't. When the guy doing everything right is still stuck holding a clipboard while the guy doing everything wrong gets endless chances, that's when culture breaks. And culture matters. Because a quarterback doesn't just throw passes. He leads. He sets the tone. He earns respect. And if the leader on the field isn't actually the leader in the locker room, everything collapses from the inside out. Shaun King gets it. He's been there. He knows what it's like to be in that room. And when he says this situation is sabotage, it's not hyperbole, it's diagnosis. The Browns aren't evaluating quarterbacks. They're protecting decisions. And in doing so, they're undercutting the very foundation of their team. And here's the twist. The longer they delay Sanders' debut, the worse this is going to look when it inevitably happens. Because the moment Shedeur touches the field and does anything positive, anything at all, the contrast will be undeniable. The fan base will erupt. The media will pile on. And the coaching staff will look like the last people in the building to realize what was obvious months, and they'll deserve every bit of that heat. There's still a window to fix this. Barely. Sanders is on the roster. He's healthy. He's ready. The only thing standing between him and the field is organizational pride. And let's be honest, that's not a great reason to keep a better player on the bench. You don't need to trade Gabriel. You don't need to cut him. You don't even need to call it a benching. Just open up the competition. Alternate starts. Evaluate on merit. That's what competent franchises do when something's not working. But instead, the Browns are sending the same guy out to fail over and over while acting like the backup doesn't exist. It's insulting. To fans. To players. To Shedeur. And if we're being real, it's insulting to Gabriel too. Because they're setting him up to take all the blame for decisions that aren't his to make. Every pick, every stalled drive, every loss, he gets the spotlight. But who's the one refusing to change course? That's not the guy under center. That's the leadership above him. Shaun King said the quiet part out loud. This isn't just poor evaluation. It's a culture problem. It's a team that doesn't know how to admit when it's wrong. And if they can't fix that, the names don't matter. Gabriel, Sanders, whoever comes next. None of it matters unless the people at the top start making decisions based on truth instead of ego. And the truth is this. Shedeur Sanders gives this team a better shot right. That's not hype. That's not projection. That's not wishful thinking. That's reality. He has the better arm. The better pocket presence. The better command. He processes defenses quicker. He's more decisive. He's less reckless. And he's built for this level of football in a way Gabriel simply isn't. And no, that doesn't guarantee success. He's still a rookie. Mistakes will happen. Growing pains are real. But the ceiling is higher. The upside is real. And the locker room wants it. That alone is worth something. The Browns need to stop acting like this is about stability. It's not. There's nothing stable about losing. There's nothing stable about sticking to a failing formula just because changing it would be embarrassing. You know what's more embarrassing than admitting a mistake? Watching that mistake take your season down with it. The fans are already checking out. The energy in the stadium is flat. The frustration online is boiling. Every week this continues, the noise gets louder, the pressure gets heavier, and the credibility of the staff keeps slipping. And when the change finally comes, when Sanders does start, that won't be seen as a strategic move. It'll be seen as giving in. A decision made 2 months too late. A fine here you go instead of a let's go win moment. That's the tragedy in all of it, because Sanders could have been the spark. The momentum shift. The fresh start. Instead, he's going to be framed as the last resort. And that's not fair, to him or to the fans who believed in him from the jump. But it's still better than nothing. If the Browns want to salvage anything from this mess, they need to act now. Give Sanders the start. Don't wait for another blowout. Don't wait for more headlines. Don't wait until the math makes the playoffs. Do it now while it still matters. Let the kid play. Let the locker room breathe. Let the team reset. Because the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to justify. And the more people start asking questions the Browns really don't want to answer. The decision is simple. The timing is urgent. And the writing is on the wall. At this point, even the most loyal Browns fans are running out of patience. Every Sunday feels like déjà vu. Same quarterback struggles, same stagnant offense, same blank stares on the sideline. And through it all, Shedeur Sanders stays on the bench, helmet on, ready, and completely ignored. You don't need an advanced analytics department to see what's going on. The Dylan Gabriel experiment has failed. That's not a personal knock, it's just a fact. He was a reach in the draft and now he's drowning in a situation he was never built to handle. And yet, week after week, the Browns roll him out like everything is fine. It's not fine. It's delusion. Shaun King didn't just criticize the decision-making, he exposed the pattern. This isn't the first time the Browns have clung to a quarterback decision long past its expiration date. It's like they're addicted to their own bad habits. Draft a guy, hype him up, ignore all the red flags, and then double down when it goes sideways. But the damage is different this time. Because with Sanders, the talent is sitting right there in plain sight. He's not some unknown quantity. He's not a gamble. He's not a developmental flyer. He's a legit prospect with a stronger arm, better instincts, and a higher football IQ. He's ready and everyone knows it. So what's the excuse? There isn't one. Not anymore. Every argument for giving Gabriel more time has collapsed under the weight of the Browns' own mediocrity. You can't keep preaching development and growth when your offense looks like it's stuck in quicksand. You can't talk about fairness when one quarterback isn't even getting a shot. The worst part? This could have been avoided. If they had just opened up the competition, just let Sanders compete, we wouldn't even be in this mess. The team could have made an informed decision based on real reps, not front office pride. Instead, they shoved all their chips behind the wrong guy and refused to hedge. That's how you lose a season. That's how you lose a locker room. And make no mistake, the longer Sanders sits, the more strained that locker room becomes. Because these players want to win. They see what's happening. They know when the better man isn't being given a shot. And when leadership keeps making it about ego instead of execution, the trust fractures. Cleveland still has a choice. It's not too late to get this right, but the window is closing. Fast. Start Shedeur Sanders. Give the fans hope. Give the team a spark. Give yourself a shot at redemption before the season, and the franchise's credibility is fully out of reach. If you've been yelling at your screen like the rest of us, drop your thoughts below. Is this the week Sanders finally gets the nod, or are we watching another Cleveland quarterback disaster unfold in slow motion? Tap that like button if you're tired of the politics, share this with your group chat, and hit subscribe, because something tells us this drama isn't over yet.